I'm about to talk about today will scare you. If it does not, you have a problem. And I want you guys to be intimately aware of what's going on. I want no one to be in a situation where they lose their freedom or their life. And if I had spoken up, it would have changed that, okay? If you make the choice to go down with the ship, I want it to be your choice. And I respect people making the choices and the stands that they need to make, but you never have to walk into a gas chamber. I think we'll do a video soon about escaping the USA, maybe a Q&A, but don't escape the USA on an airplane. Get in a car and know when to get out. What I'm talking about today is very specific though, and that is what's happening with the borders, okay? And I'm not even here gonna talk about immigration politics tonight because human rights are human rights. So we've already proven this over and over again. The Constitution does not give any authority over immigration, and it certainly doesn't give authority to abuse people. But that's not actually the topic tonight. The topic tonight is whether you're going to be able to get out when the time comes. Now let's be very clear, the US, and I think we all know this if we're honest with each other, the US is going down. We see our activists going to prison, being killed, being arrested. We see people having to leave the country. I had to leave the country to stay out of prison. And those who know me, and many of you know that that was not an idle thing. I really did have to escape the USA or I would be killed or imprisoned. In fact, I am actually collecting evidence on that just in case I ever have an issue with immigration or they want to know why I left in another country, wherever I ending up at. And I want to make sure that my case is solid. If you guys know me and you want to help me out, I do appreciate any signed letters you want to email to gavinforliberty@gmail.com affirming the danger that I was in as an activist, how bad it really is getting in the USA, and why I had to get out. I don't need those right this second, but I would appreciate those to have them on file in case anything ever gets dicey. But what about you getting out? What about you getting out? Thanks, Eric. What happens when things get really bad? What are you gonna do? At what point do you draw the line? I drew the line. I said at one point I was sitting there and they were charging me and they were trying to drum up evidence and force me to give evidence against myself. Thanks, Nixon. And you know what? I kept saying I'm there with my family and my business and my life, and it was hard to leave, but I said, why am I still here? Why? I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves. But it's getting worse. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I want to actually show you guys tonight. Checkpoints are in place at the borders, not for coming in. Understand that the wall, all of this border propaganda, the Mexicans are going to take everything from you, that is absolute propaganda to keep you distracted. The government has no intention of keeping bad guys out. The baddest of the bad are already in government or working with them, period. And we know this. All right? As they haul us away to prisons, and yes, guys, I just saw that James Freeman got arrested. I just watched that video. I just commented on it for standing up to the blue ISIS thugs and refusing to give his information. You got stones, James, and somebody shout out to me, let me know a status. Did he get bailed? Did he get released? Make sure, especially if you're nearby, that you're keeping on this, guys, because people die if we're not on it. And that's very important. So what? What do we do? What do we do? Well, you got to decide when to get out, where to get out, but you also need the information. And the information of what's happening should make you very concerned. Now, they've been violating people's rights at borders for a long time. Then they went to inland border checkpoints, and those gradually escalated to more and more force. At first, they were fairly benign. Eventually, they started breaking people's windows and arresting them for refusing to comply. We have a police, blue ISIS, and their cronies that murder more people on the streets of the USA than all other terrorist organizations combined, and no one's talking about it except a few of us. Why is it? Why is it that the so-called independent media is not dealing with this? The number one terrorist organization is your police, and that includes your border patrol. That includes your judges. That includes all of the cronies. But what I have back here on the screen, and we did get a new screen here in my little office, got a little 4K display, 27-inch for working my video on. Let me show you this. This is actually an article from probably longer ago than you think. This is from 2010, okay? It is from the Border Patrol's official magazine, Frontline. This is from winter of 2010. In 2010, they said on any given shift, there are approximately 20 Border Patrol officers and agents working on outbound operations. Now, they go on to tell people how they're preventing people from leaving. Operation Intrepid. This is not conspiracy. This is their magazine. They're bragging about how they're searching people to leave the country. Okay, now I talked about this a few times when I talked about leaving, but they're talking about the enemy is the people, and we must search and manipulate. It's all about the drug war and the terror war and all the other fake narratives. Here's another article. This one was from the San Diego Tribune, 2017. Drivers into Mexico see a surge in southbound inspections. It's not a search. It's an inspection. Remember that from the Feynman's video? It is a search. It is a violation. It is terrorism. Here's another article, and you guys can look for this. It's not conspiracy theory. This is happening. These are lines traveling southbound. These are people being blocked from leaving the USA. I have to say, all right, guys, when I left, when I escaped, and I've talked about this, but that was the scariest day of my life. I was not sure I was going to get out. I had my family in my van, and I was towing my RV, and I was not sure what was going to happen at that border. If they were communicating good enough to know where I was and to try and keep me from escaping the USSA. These stations are at almost every border crossing now. The infrastructure is there, and I want to be very clear, and you guys can go verify this. When you came, I came in Sonora by Nogales, all right? The exit stations are not always manned. I went to a station that was quieter, intentionally, all right? I went through the truck station at Nogales when I escaped, okay? When I did that, there was nobody monitoring the exit. Now, I was counting the cost in my head. What's going to happen? What are they going to ask? What's going to go on? Thank you, guys. What's going to go on if they try to keep me from leaving? And I was praying hard. I got to tell you what. My appeal is to heaven. When I got to that station with my family, there was nobody manning it, and I kind of slowed down and I looked around. There was nobody there, and we said, let's go. The moment we crossed the line into Mexico, everything changed. The demeanor changed. The spirit changed. But I want to be very clear, and the only reason I don't have video to show you from that exit station, and I will pay someone $100 if they can get me a dash cam video driving through that exit station if you are near the border, all right? Give you some cash for that. It was such a whirl that day that I didn't empty my dash cam till later, okay? And I got the footage just after I crossed over, but not through the exit station. If you go through that exit station, you will see gates. You will see checkpoint stations, all right? But it's more than that. If you go through that exit, you'll see something that you'll find in history at the Berlin Wall. To keep people from crossing through, right? Now bear in mind that at the Berlin Wall, vastly less people were murdered by the government than the police kill in the USA every year. Okay, the numbers, people think, oh, like that was the worst of the worst. No, the USA is actually far worse today. One of the things they did to prevent people from getting through the Berlin Wall is they put roads, right? They put roads with corners and blocks and sharp turns to keep people from blowing through quickly. The USA is the Fourth Reich, you guys. The USA is Rome. The USA is the new Nazis. The surveillance state of the USA, the abuse of our police, makes the activities at the Berlin Wall look like child's play. The surveillance state of the USA makes the Nazis look like amateurs. Now, when you cross to this checkpoint, the one at Nahalli's in particular, you will find that there are about 15-foot high concrete walls lining the roads as you go to leave. There's the gates, there's the check stations, and then there, just like Berlin, but more, there are right angle turns. There's 90-degree turns to make it so that it's hard for you to go through quickly if you have to get out quickly. All right? Make no mistake, the wall has nothing to do with keeping bad guys out. Okay? The wall is about keeping you in. It's the Berlin Wall for you. Thanks, Randy. Guys, this stuff should scare you. This stuff on this screen back here should scare you. This video right here of this blue ISIS thug who arrested James Freeman today for videoing. And I hear he just got out. Thanks for the update, guys. I'm sure he'll do an update. And go to his channel when we're done. Go find James Freeman's channel. Somebody put a link in here to his channel, will you? And go watch this video of this thug arresting him, not for doing anything wrong. A thug, not even in his jurisdiction, harassing someone on a public sidewalk and arresting them because they're filming without permission and because they won't identify themselves. Guys, the USA is gone. It is a terrorist organization that runs the USA, and they are all working together. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the reality of what's happening today to your friends, to your neighbors, at the borders, right now. And it's time for you to wake up. Count the cost. Figure out where you stand. I can tell you that people come down here and make a life for themselves. There's a whole world out there. The USA is one of the worst and most fascist and violent nations on the planet. Does that mean you'll find perfect freedom elsewhere? I don't know if anywhere has that. But I can tell you that in Mexico, for example, they have vastly more freedom and far less violence against their people from the government. You can go further south if they're really after you. You can go down to Colombia. People love it in Colombia. You can look at other places across the world, but I can say that Latin America is looking pretty promising. The potential is growing. The people are standing up and coming together. The middle class is growing. These are things you should be thinking about, because the day is coming, and I believe soon, when if you escape at all, you won't be driving out with your stuff on a trailer at the exit. You'll be barely escaping with the clothes on your back, running for your life. Particularly if you're someone who's not willing to bow down. If you're willing to keep your head down and keep obey, thanks, Randy. If you're willing to just do what you're told and let your neighbors be abused, you might make it for a little longer before the U.S. is ground to ash. It's going down, guys. The USA is the Fourth Reich. The USA is the new Rome, and it's going to come apart. And if you're just sitting quietly at home, buying new cars and new houses and playing video games, maybe you need to stop and think about your family and your situation and consider what may be coming. I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen. I can't tell you when it's going to happen. I can only tell you that they are preparing to keep you from leaving the USA. It's happening right now, every day. People are being arrested. They're being prevented from escaping. People are being locked in prison for nothing, crossing the border either direction. The drug war and the fake crimes and the fake charges. People are getting life in prison for filing papers to redress their grievances with government, you guys. That's happening in Colorado right now. 20, 30, 40, 50 years in prison for filing papers. They never laid a finger on anyone. Meanwhile, police can murder you on the street and have zero consequences whatsoever. Those are some things you should think about. Those are some things you should be considering. We're not of the spirit of fear, but when you see these fearful things happening, I don't care what you believe or whether you're religious or whatever, let's start using some common sense. The USA no longer exists. It's gone. All right, guys, peace, Love your neighbor. Keep speaking out. We're gonna deal with some of the trolls on here. Don't worry. We'll clear some of them out. And spread this. Like it. Share it. Warn your friends. If I sound radical, I'm not just talking. Thanks, Marty. I left the USA. I got on the highway in the dark of night and crossed the country 1,000 miles to get to that border.